commissioners.
I guess, fellow commissioners, I'll go ahead and start. And I don't think what I'm about to say is going to change any minds on this board today. And I'm going to be somewhat repetitive to what I've said on this issue for well over a year now. But in my mind today, the question that's before us is one of jurisdiction. And we have agreed on the answer. The county commission decides the when and what amount to finance. This is all we decide, and a previous commission has made this decision. The when was now, and the what amount was up to $6 million with no restrictions. The school board decides everything else, most notably the location. We don't decide location. We have all agreed on this. We shouldn't attempt to decide the location through a political manipulation process, which to some would argue has been prevalent during the last 60 days. We shouldn't micromanage our school system's decisions. That's not our role. The school board is held accountable by the voters. The administrators are held accountable by the school board. The teachers and staff are held accountable by the administrators. It's not our place to meddle. Regarding our jurisdiction, the when, we know the time is now. Waiting 2 to 3 years will mean higher construction and interest costs. This data was presented at a joint meeting that Vice Chairman Pierce, myself, and Commissioner Mitchell attended on January 3rd. Waiting means we will be paying more for the same building. Regarding the amount, a previous board decided up to $6 million. That was actually my motion, and that was my vote. My motion at the time was that the general feeling on this board was that 48,000 square feet was all that was needed, and not the requested 62,000 square feet. Then this board discussed in this room in December, if we are going to do this, then we should do the full consolidation. The city of Salisbury has offered to accomplish this by adding $2 million and pursuing a joint financing arrangement. Then the school board and the city of Salisbury voted to pursue joint financing at their meeting. This is a good solution. One could say this is a good partnership. I therefore believe we should join our partners and move this project forward today, now, and with a joint financing arrangement. We will leave the where to the school board as we are required to. They can and should decide the where. If environmental contamination is an issue, let me address this. First, we don't decide the where, the school board does. If the site isn't properly cleaned at the end of the day, as promised by the city of Salisbury, the school system can pick another location. This is their job. This is their jurisdiction, not ours. So let's let the school board do theirs. Second, the county taking a position on the location in this fashion is very short-sighted. So let me ask a question. What happens when Salisbury builds something else on that corner and proves us wrong? What do we tell the voters then? That we sat up here today and we were not concerned about the big picture? The public is astute, and we'll see right through that. We need to stick to the when and the amount. Therefore, I'm going to make a motion to reaffirm the up to $6 million with no restrictions commitment that this board made last January 25th, and direct staff to work with the school system and city staff on a joint financing arrangement.
Do we have a second?
Commissioners, I believe that this board does need to make a decision on that issue. That's the question that's before it. The only way that we're ever going to get any closure on this deal is for it to either be voted up anywhere from 5-0 to 3-2 or voted down anywhere from 5-0 to 3-2. So I would second the motion at the very least for the purposes of once and for all settling whether this is still an issue to be discussed at this time.
Commissioners, any discussion?
I have just a few items. First are the property concerns that Commissioner Barber brought up. There was an article timed at 1:40 today, I believe, on the SalisburyPost.com that discussed the potential of the groundwater contamination at the site. Whether groundwater contamination at the site exists or not, we don't know at the time. The city of Salisbury, I'm assuming, doesn't know at the time, nor does the school system. If this vote were to be in the affirmative, I would like to see some qualifications put on it in regards to what has to happen before the property can be accepted by the county. Our normal clearance policies, whatever they are, should be followed. I don't know that we necessarily have the same policies as the city of Salisbury, and that we may be working in two different language sets. So if this vote were to pass affirmatively, the city of Salisbury and the school system needs to understand what our requirements are for accepting the property. For those that are unaware, if the county approves the loan, regardless of who is paying for the loan, whether it be the school system or the city of Salisbury in some joint capacity, as far as I know, the LGC requires that property to be in Rowan County's name. And if that's the case, then it should have to follow our normal property procurement policies, whatever they may be. And if it requires, I don't know how far up the environmental studies go, but if it requires a phase 20 to clear up whatever is out there, then that's what has to happen. It can't be a simple letter from Diener necessarily, unless that's what we normally use. So the property concerns are pretty apparent to most, and they are significant as far as I'm concerned in terms of county liability. You know, at the moment, the city of Salisbury is working to clean up the property because the original owner did not clean it, as far as I understand it. And so if we were to accept the property, the liability for that cleanup would transfer to the county. And I want to make sure that if that site would be where it's going, that the county in no way, shape, or form has liability. And I would need the environmental certifications to say that we are clean from any liability on that property. The other question that I have, and this hasn't been vetted by our board, at least as far as I know publicly, and that is in regards to the joint financing. This board, early in 2012, issued a letter of support for $6 million for the school board to move on with the building of a building. If the city of Salisbury were to go into a joint financing venture, I won't, and I don't even know how this would happen procedurally, but the LGC, with their requirement that we hold the lien on the property, we hold the property's name, we hold the property in our name, I assume that they have the same requirements of any property that the city of Salisbury has an interest in, that the city of Salisbury would have to have the property in their name as well. So I'm not procedurally sure how that would even go about to fruition in terms of a joint project. I'm sure it's been done before. I don't know what sort of legal loopholes would have to be gone through, but I suspect they could be quite significant in terms of making the LGC happy with that kind of arrangement. We need to get that locked down as well. So while I have supported $6 million for a central office, and I do support the school board selecting the site for that central office, the site that they have currently selected has some serious issues with it that, at least before the project went any further down the road, would have to be cleared up, at least in my opinion, before this board was willing to accept that property ownership. So while I have no problem supporting the $6 million office, I think that as far as the need's been demonstrated, the revenue stream to pay for it, while it is tax dollars, I wouldn't dare say that it's not tax dollars in any way, shape, or form. While it is tax dollars, the school system has identified the revenue stream to pay for it. It does not require county property tax dollars, so the plan does fall within that range. Even though all that has been set up, by the school board, I think that we need some assurances on a couple of these issues. And beyond that, if this motion were to fail, I think that it's time to discuss either another location, it's time to discuss another plan, it's time to discuss another timeline, but we do need to get something under our belts in terms of what the school system needs to do next. Cool their jets for 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever this board wants to tell them. That's perfectly within its power. So that's where I think that we should go one way or the other. A previous board approved $6 million. We were not able to get to the point where that was doable under the previous board's decision. So, in many ways, that letter of commitment from the county is null and void. It's a different board. So that's sort of where we sit at the moment. And I don't like it necessarily being in flux, but we've talked about it for 23 years. So we're going to talk about it for at least a little while longer, I suspect. And I think we'll come to a decision one way or the other.
Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, I think I've been on record for a year plus opposing this project, so I don't think I can add any additional information today, so I'll just say I think everyone knows where I'm going.
Mr. Chairman, when Commissioner Barber and I attended the meeting with the school board and the city council, I made it real clear that this decision was down to a where and a when. When the other board approved the original $6 million, they were told they had a where. Well, today we don't have a where. If we approve this money today, we could not build. We might not ever be able to build. We don't know. And as a commissioner, I'm not about to go to the LGC and ask them to approve this when we don't have what they're going to require, which is a location. So for us to even consider this funding, I feel like it's a dereliction of duty for the commissioners to even entertain this until we've got a site that is acceptable and buildable. We don't know how long that's going to be. So until we have that, there's no way I can support the funding.
Any other comment? Mr. Manager.
Make sure that we're all on the same page. When the 60 days was put into place, it was really to let the elected officials think out, is this really the direction we want to go? At the same time, the city's been pursuing the cleanup of the site. But let me say this. Whenever the county buys property, there is a procedure. Whether we bought it for the satellite jail or for the 911 center or for whatever, we use a consultant that looks at the property and does a phase 1 environmental assessment, and then basically says, has this ever been used for a landfill? Has it ever been used for a service station? Is there anything that would imply there's a problem? We do that as a normal deal. On the site that's been offered by the city, they're pursuing the cleanup. We haven't done anything to ask about what they were doing, was it right or wrong, but we do have a consultant that we use when contamination of a site is involved and we need it to be taken a step further. And we put them on notice that in the event that this board were to vote 3-2 to follow through with the $6 million and to do the site up and to do the project uptown, that at some point the city would want to transfer the deed to the county, and that we would have to make sure all the T's are crossed and all the I's dotted. They are aware of where the site is. They're aware of the city's pursuing the cleanup. My point is, they haven't done anything except maybe ask for freedom of information for anything that's been submitted to Dean. But my point is, staff is taking the position that if the board wanted to move forward, yes. When the city did their final cleanup and had their letters saying everything's in order, our company would review those, and then we knew we could move forward with taking ownership. We would know that we could move forward talking to the local government commission, because this property usually goes with the deal. Not only is the property collateral, but the county would own the building for the 10 years till it was paid off. So those would be things that would be part of the approval from the LGC. Yeah, you have a piece of property, everything's clean and in order, you have a deed to the property so that you can talk with the bank and work out a deal. But as of today, nothing concrete's been done except waiting for the 60 days. And if this board were to say, you know, we don't want to pursue this, fine. Then as far as the cleanup of the site, it's really none of our business. That's up to the city. But in the event you say 3-2 that you want to move forward, we have our company that would, because I know some of you would want to know for sure, is everything in order? And you would want your second opinion. But as of today, the company, our consultant, is aware of the project, but they have not done anything as far as studies or incurred expense. They may have given us an idea of what they thought the timeline might be for a cleanup. But the bottom line is, until we know whether we have a project or not, there might be any need to expend money or get too far into it. So I just want you to know, we do have a procedure, and it works. We have a piece of property we're looking at the airport that turned out to have some contamination, and it's on public record. And we had this same company look at it and advise us on how we might move the next step toward purchase. But when you realize that it has some issues and that those would have to be cleared up, we then backed off and we looked at other pieces of property. So this is standard. I don't want anybody to think that the county was trying to be intrusive on the city. We did want to be prepared and do our due diligence, and so that's where we are. So I just want to make sure, Commissioner Mitchell, you knew there is a procedure in place.
I was not going to make a statement at all at this point, but since the manager brought up several items, I think I need to make a comment or two. If this piece of property was clean today, according to the city of Salisbury, in other words, if they had a stack of documents that was this high, and they said they'd done everything they had to do, the property was clean, it was ready to be built on. If we had that today and we were prepared to proceed, there still would be a timeline that we would follow before we would accept that deed. We have very competent staff. This is what they do. This is the service that they provide for the citizens of Rowan County. They make sure that we do not take on liability that we don't deserve. So they would do their due diligence. They would take all of those documents and they'd go down through every page of it and determine that everything had been done properly. If they found one document that was missing, they would want that document before they recommended to this board that we proceed on purchasing or taking a piece of property. That's all we've tried to do. That's all we're trying to do. But at this point in time, that piece of property is not clean. It's not in the state that a deed could be offered. It's not in the state that we could go to the LGC and request funds. So I can't vote to proceed. So commissioners, we have a motion on the floor. We have a second to proceed with the $6 million as was offered the first of, I believe, in January of 2012. What's the pleasure of the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. No. That motion dies 3-2. Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I move that the county offer the old DSS building on West Ennis and the Haley Avenue to run Salisbury school system for the specific use of the Long Street office, to replace the Long Street office, and additional space is available for the corporate center office. Terms will be as follows. The property can be used free of charge by the school system until the central office can be agreed upon by RSS or in the county, or RSS decides to move to a new location. Decision must be returned to the county no later than 30 days from today. In addition, the county will offer to the school system a loan of up to $250,000 for the updates to the building. The loan will be interest-free and will be prepaid in increments of $50,000 for 5 years.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I am correct, the $50,000 that Commissioner Caskey is using to fund or repay this loan would be offset by the rents that they're currently paying to be in the corporate offices downtown.
So that's correct, if there's enough space for
Right.
them to move both locations.
And the reason I bring this up is, you know, this is actually a lateral move for the school administration office using funds that they're going to spend anyway. This just gives them a way to move their administration out of the Long Street and the corporate offices, give them somewhat of a consolidation to bring them a little better in line with what their ultimate goal is, which is a new administration office. I think this would also give them time to see what the disposition will be of the lot that's located downtown Salisbury, and that would give them some time also to determine if the cleanup is not possible on that lot so that it can be built on satisfactory for the county to take possession. It would give them time to explore other options as well as other locations for their new central office. So I will second that, and thank you, Commissioner Caskey, for that motion.
Any other discussion?
I'll say that for years, this board has agreed that the Long Street office should not have another dime put into it in terms of renovations or bringing it up to date in any way, shape, or form. With the board's decision not to move forward with the previous proposal, I certainly support this offer. This board has never made the offer, at least publicly and formally. I don't know what the school board's decision on it may be. However, it does at least provide an option out of Long Street if they choose to pursue it.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think this is a temporary fix to the problem. You know, I think at some point we're going to build a central office. And I hope that we also build some schools at the same time, in a few years possibly. And I think that this is sort of a compromise. I think that offering to loan some money to the schools is the county reaching out, understanding we need to work a little bit better together. And I think it's a first step in the right direction.
Any other comments? If not, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
This time we'll consider item 3A,